Would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Would everyone please stand? To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So now we're going to move into our awards and recognition. First, we would like to recognize a PSTA staff member, longtime grants manager Pam Wrights, who led PSTA's agency-wide efforts to get zero findings in the recently completed Federal Transit Administration's triennial review audit. Debbie Leos, our PSTA CFO, will introduce Pam. Good morning, Debbie.
Well, good morning, Chair and the Board. I am very pleased to be able to introduce Pam today on this triennial. And let me explain a little bit about what this is. The Federal Transit Administration does a review every 3 years. And they start their review from the moment they leave the last one till the day they come in for the current one. So it's 3 years of trying to get everything right across the authority. There are 23 sections to this triennial review. That means everybody has to be doing everything right to get zero findings. So I believe this is the third time in the last 12 years I've been here. And with that, I'd like Pam to come up. Pam has been with us almost 40 years, I believe 18 years in the grants area. And so she knows just about every part of this authority. And Pam, I just want to say congratulations. She is our cat herder, getting us all together on this. And I appreciate you so very much. So thank you very much. Some roses for my favorite grants. Come on up, we'll get a picture.
It's a total compliment to say that Pam is a force of nature, I guess. Zero findings.
Yes.
Everybody, not just me. You want to maybe a little bit, just so I don't get the podium in the way. That's better. All right, ready? 1, 2, 3. I'm gonna do one more. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay.
Thank you so much, Pam.
Thank you and congratulations again, Ms. Wrights. So now we come to public comment. Now's the time if anyone has an agenda item or even items not on the agenda item. If you would like to speak on the topic, we ask that you please fill out the green card and get it to the ladies at the front table. Do we have any cards? Okay, well, we don't have any speakers to recognize with no cards. Are there any other members of the public here who would like to make a comment? Okay, seeing none, we will now move on to our consent agenda. Are there any items a board member wishes to pull?
Move approval.
Thank you. I was going to ask for that motion, so we have a motion and it's now seconded. Can you please open the machine for voting for the consent agenda, please?
I'm a yes. I'm a yes.
McCann is a yes.
So we have 10. We're good. Motion passes 10-0. So now we will move on to our committee updates, and we only have one report today, and we'll hear from PSTA's Transit Riders Advisory Committee Chair, Ms. Gloria Lepic Corrigan, on TRAC's recent meeting. It was great to see you last Friday, Ms. Gloria, at the Clearwater Station groundbreaking. We got wet, but it was a great day.
I got to shovel dirt too, which is pretty cool. Okay, good morning, Mr. Miller and Chair Fig Sanders and esteemed board members. The Transit Riders Advisory Committee met virtually via Zoom on Tuesday, August 19th. And one of the first things we did was to review the discussions from your last board meeting. We do that every one of our meetings, so they're aware of what the board is deciding and so on. And we discussed the issue of the millage rate reduction, and we created for you a statement, which is in your packets, summarizing the consensus perspective of the committee, and I hope you have had a chance or will have a chance to read that. As you know, we care very much about cost reductions, but we also care very much about service retention and potentially revenue generation. Then the Acting Director of Mobility, Chris Macklin, introduced the committee with the agency's new Spark AI system for assisting the mobility and customer service departments to cut wait times. And you're going to be seeing that information as well. It was very interesting, and I'm sure it'll be very, very helpful. Then Chief Planning and Community Affairs Officer Darden Rice gave us an update on the Connected Community Bus Plan. And the Director of Communications and Marketing, Amanda Baird, unveiled the new graphics for the PSTA maps, schedules, and shelter displays. And again, the committee members were very thankful that our input had been incorporated into what they did. And we believe it'll be very user-friendly and very helpful once it's implemented. Our next meeting will be held in person here at PSTA's auditorium on Tuesday, September 23rd at 4 p.m. And as always, we invite you, you're welcome to attend. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that report. So now we're going to address our one and only action item for today, and it's the contract with Sphere Labs, Inc. We have two, okay, for our AI customer service agent service. And joining us, okay, I don't see Ross, there's Ross, PSTA's AD Compliance Officer, Ross Silvers, who will walk us through and give us a demonstration of this new cost-saving technology. We would like to use AI Customer Service Agent for our mobility service. Good morning, Ross. How are you?
Good morning, Chair. I'm just fine. And thank you, Board, and everyone else for letting me do this presentation here today. As Gloria mentioned, Chris Macklin did present this to TRAC, as well as getting it unanimously approved by Finance Committee. Chris is taking a dream trip right now, so he's not able to be with us here today. And as some of you may know, Bonnie Epstein a week ago had her baby. So she's also not able to be with us here today, so you're stuck with me today. So anyway, so today's item, grab my cuers here. All right. So today we're here to talk about our SPARE software. SPARE software is what runs the services we provide for our customers with disabilities under the Americans with Disabilities Act, that being our PSTA Access and Mobility on Demand services. So the software has worked really well for us, and we're really excited about it. And so this is a wonderful opportunity that kind of Commissioner Scott helped bring to our attention about a way to try some new technology and help reduce the wait times we have for our callers who are calling in for service, and also to be able to see what kind of efficiency we can have for our staff as well as for our callers in implementing this. So that's really kind of where this is coming from. And what I want to do today is give you a demonstration of this, because I know AI is something fairly new to a lot of us, but it seems like it's not. So for example, in the Finance Committee, I remember one of our commissioners talked about a negative experience she had with kind of an interactive voice response system. And so I want you to see just kind of how far this has come in that period of time. So I'm just going to dial up. Texas has been using this very successfully in Austin. And so I'm going to kind of dial their service so you can hear how it sounds.
Hi, I am your AI assistant. I can help you book trips, cancel trips, leave reviews, or check on ETAs. You can start by saying book a trip, for example.
Actually, what I need to do is check on the status of a trip I've already booked. Can you help me with that?
Let me check your upcoming trips for you. You have a trip scheduled for today, Wednesday, August 27th. The pickup window is between 10 a.m. and 11 a.m. with an estimated pickup at 10:30 a.m. The trip is still being matched to a driver, so the pickup time may change. Please check back a bit later for a more accurate update. Is there anything else I can help you with regarding your trip?
Sounds good to me. Thanks so much.
You're welcome. If you need anything else, just give me a call. Have a great day.
Bye. So as you can hear, this is a very natural sounding voice. It's very easy to talk to, understands what you're saying. It knows me by my phone number, so everyone who calls, it's going to recognize their phone number from the software system. It also can see where you've gone recently in your trips and your saved locations, so it makes the whole process a lot easier. So, of course, AI can't do everything for everyone. It is not the same as a human. So we still, of course, are going to need our call takers to be able to help us out. In terms of staffing, these calls are taken currently by our customer service representatives as well as our reservation agents. And you see the numbers here on the screen for that. About 20% of ride requests come in through the app, and we've been encouraging that and excited to have one of the highest rates of app usage of our peers in the country. But it's probably not going to keep going a lot higher than that. And so as we see our call times increase, number of calls increase, hold time increase, and unfortunately some abandoned calls increase, we really want to try and address that to have better customer service and, of course, efficiency as well. And so, where am I? There we are. So as you can see here, the little purple hairs, those represent all of our reservation agents and call takers, and the little phone symbols are representing AI. So the way these work together is that our live call takers here at PSTA, each one is a phone line through our RingCentral phone system. All the AI combined are sharing one line. So it's not taking up phone lines. And what we have with our calls that come in for rides is we have peak times. So just like you have rush hour traffic, it's heavy early in the morning and it gets heavy again in the late afternoon. The same is true for our peak calls for our riders. And so our agents can handle those call volumes at quiet times, but at peak times, that's when the wait times go up, and our reservation agents will be able to come into play and help take those calls and keep those wait times down. And it doesn't matter how many reservation agents are needed, there's no wait time for the customer. The reservations agents pick up immediately, there's no limit, and not taking up our phone line. So it's a very efficient tool in helping our reservation agents and our customers to have a really positive experience, which is, of course, the goal of what we're all about. In terms of cost, we're looking at not to exceed $134,000 over 2 years, and the money for this program is coming from a current vacancy that we have, a reservation agent position we've kept vacant. So that, between salary and benefits and fringe, is around $60,000 a year, and then we have a small grant to cover the remainder of the cost. And so now we're asking you to approve this action item for the Spare AI Voice pilot program for 2 years, not to exceed $134,000, and I'll take any questions.
Thank you. Does anyone from the public wish to speak? Are there any questions or comments from anyone on the board?
Second.
Okay, it's been motioned and probably second. Can you please open the machine for voting?
I'm a yes.
Okay, so that motion passes 10-0. Thank you so much, Ross, for that presentation and demonstration. So our second action item, and I don't know how I overlooked this, is our 2026 state legislative priorities. Next, Brad is going to outline the draft of our state legislative priorities for the upcoming 2026 state legislative session that the PSTA Legislative Committee discussed at our August 6th meeting. The Legislative Committee meeting, and I believe Ron Pierce, PSTA State Legislative Affairs Representative, is here remotely on Zoom as well. Hello, Ron. There you go, Brad. Is he on?
Good morning, Madam Chair.
Oh, there he is.
There he is,
Okay,
yeah.
good morning.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you. Yes, as the chair said, the legislative committee met on August 6th to go over a draft set of recommendations for the upcoming 2026 session in Tallahassee. And so Ron and I have been working on that since then. The committee suggested we take this to the board this month because, the legislative session is starting earlier, and committee meetings actually start next month. The draft agenda, there's 2 draft agendas in your packet. There's just a not pretty one that's just text, That was the draft that was sent to the legislative committee, and then a revised one is also in your packet. This year, like last year, we are going to mostly highlight just the efficiencies that PSDA has been able to generate and how efficient a transit system we are relative to our peers across the state, how we are recommending to lower the tax rate again. And I think that was very positive to get our message across in Tallahassee last year, and I think we'll do the same this year. There's a recommendation that Ron and the legislative committee supported. We'll see if it's possible, but since Pinellas County has the appropriations chair and the transportation and economic development chair from our county, Senator Hooper and Senator DeSigley, we thought to go ahead and put in a request for funding for $800,000 for the Clearwater Ferry, Clearwater and Dunedin Ferry services. We have tentatively a earmark being supported by Congresswoman Anna Paula Luna for the Dunedin ferry dock, which was significantly damaged during the hurricanes. And this would be able to match that. I think we've had some discussions with the city of Dunedin, and Ron has had with their legislative folks that they're moving ahead on that project now. And so the funding, if we're successful in getting this, would probably go toward other improvements, maybe more in Clearwater. But we're working with both City of Clearwater and Dunedin collaboratively on this legislative ask. But it's a thought. I mean, if it doesn't happen, that's fine too. But I think it would certainly help that service and get the marinas some needed funding to restore them after the damage they suffered. But I'll stop there and let Ron provide any other insight that he might have, maybe updated insight.
Yeah, thank you, Brad. So, board members, so I think going after an appropriation, obviously, Brad talked about is smart. Number one, having key legislative leadership from Pinellas County as a part of that discussion, I think is important. Number two is, we did talk to Dunedin. It probably makes more sense of doing a general ask as it relates to the ferry. That could be a combination of Dunedin or Clearwater. One of the things we talked about with the legislative committee is being able to leverage the fact that hopefully we're going to get federal dollars to be also used from an infrastructure standpoint. The key here, it is for infrastructure. It is not for services and operations. It would be for infrastructure. So I think that's important. Some of the other requests, I just want to walk you through very quickly, like maintaining the state block grant funding for overall transit funding. That's important because last year, the House and Senate started at very different positions as it relates to transit funding. So we were obviously a voice behind the scenes ensuring that got ultimately to the House position on that issue. The increased startup service development for grant funding is important. For new programs to get started, there's an opportunity to get a grant program that we'd have the chance to typically apply for. That program was eliminated last year as a part of a dock stamp bill. So we're working on trying to see if there's a way to either get that funding renewed somehow or potentially create a new program under a different umbrella there at DOT. The Transportation Disadvantage Program is number one, make sure that it maintains the current level of funding, if not get an increase. Last year, I think based upon the formula, Pinellas County actually was a winner in that. We actually got increased funding from a transportation disadvantage standpoint, but also the innovative grant programs, which is not mentioned here, which is a part of that, making sure that funding also continues, because a lot of our programs for like our late shift program is funded out of that as well. So I will stop there. At the beginning of that, the cost-effective transportation, that's just important to make sure that we're reminding the delegation about you as a board have reduced taxes, you've kept administrative costs low. It's 1/2 of the statewide average. You think you as a board have done a great job when you've had the chance to privatize and save the taxpayer dollars. You've been able to do that. Partnerships with Uber and others, I think, is a great example of that. So based upon what was in a bill a couple of years ago, I think just reminding the delegation and key legislative leaders in Tallahassee, you all have done a really good job, I think, from a fiscal standpoint of managing your budget, but at the same time, also increasing ridership at the same time. So I'll stop there. Brad, let me know if I missed anything, and I'm more than happy to take any questions from the board members.
Okay, well, thank you, Ron, for that, and we really do appreciate how you represent us, and we appreciate it. So Brad, do you have any other further updates in that regard?
No, I think the legislative committee had a good discussion about this, and we'll, of course, be working. We'll have, Ron and I have started to plan on having 2 PSTA trips to Tallahassee, one during a committee week in November, and then we have not scheduled the another meeting once the session starts in January.
Okay,
We'll go up there.
thank you so much for that update. Does anyone from the public wishes to speak? Are there any questions and comments from any board members?
Second.
Okay, it has been motioned and properly second. Can we please open the voting system?
Do we have an abstention?
We have an extension.
We have an extension.
We have an abstention.
Commissioner Hazelton is abstaining.
What's the basis? What
What's the
conflict you have?
basis? I think I don't really, first of all, I couldn't hear him that well, but I think that there were a lot of things that maybe I need to review the legislative committee video as far as the in-depth discussion on some of these items.
Okay, under the Sunshine Law, you have to vote yes or no. You can only abstain if you have a conflict of interest. Since you
Oh,
don't have
okay,
a conflict of interest,
okay,
you're going to have to
okay.
vote
Well,
either
I'm
yes or no.
sorry. Then I will vote no.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for the clarification.
Okay, thank you for that. So the motion passes 9-1.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ron.
So now we'll move on to our information items, and the first one is an update on our new strategic plan for PSTA. Trish Collins, PSTA's Director of Human Resources, will outline how we're moving forward towards adopting a new strategic plan for the organization. Good morning, Trish.
Good morning. Thank you, Chair Fig Sanders, and good morning, esteemed board members. I'm Trish Collins. I'm the Director of Human Resources at PSTA, and I'm very excited to bring forward the first proposal as we move towards a new updated strategic plan for the agency. Next month, of course, the board will adopt a budget for fiscal year 2026. In tandem with the budget development this year, we've also been working with the board to develop a new, updated strategic plan that looks at a longer time horizon of about 5 years, and it drives the focus of the agency for that period. The strategic plan forms the basis of a lot of important things here at the agency. It's the foundation for our scorecard, which is the way that the board evaluates the performance of the agency, the performance of our CEO, and it's the basis of performance evaluations for all of the employees here at PSTA. The strategic plan also provides a framework for developing and prioritizing projects that are in alignment with the strategic plan throughout the period. And very importantly, it establishes the board's high-level direction of how you want this organization to be run and what you consider to be the most important priorities and values for us to strive for. This plan's development has been rooted in collaboration, starting with, as you'll remember, 2 strategic board workshops that we conducted with you during the spring. Our objective during those workshops was to listen, to align, and to synthesize your priorities into a strategic framework that can guide our focus for these next 5 years. So today, we're bringing forward the first proposal in the development of that strategic plan. 3 key priorities that we believe reflect the board's collective vision, grounded in solid financial management, service excellence, and readiness for the future. A strategic plan founded on these priorities would include actionable and measurable projects and initiatives that are aligned with what we've heard from you and are responsive to our customers, taxpayers, and the community at large. During the spring workshops and also during committee and board meetings, one-on-one meetings with Brad and with staff, you've shared thoughtful direction aimed at increasing revenue, decreasing expenses, growing ridership, and preparing for future opportunities. Your direction helped us shape our understanding of what matters most and where we should focus our energy to realize the board's vision of success. So we categorized and synthesized these workshop inputs to identify the most strategic, overarching themes, and we grouped them under these 3 broad priorities that we believe reflect the intent in these ideas. The 3 proposed priorities for PSTA's new strategic plan are financial responsibility, operational excellence, and community impact. I'd like to walk through each of these a little bit now and then open the floor for your thoughts and refinements. This priority, financial responsibility, is placed first because of the board's emphasis on long-term financial health, efficiency, and effective stewardship of public resources. This priority drives initiatives like evaluating cost structures, maximizing revenue, minimizing expenses, and identifying new partnerships such as advertising and private sector engagement. The second proposed priority, operational excellence, centers on reliability, safety, and system performance. All of those things that are really important for retaining and growing our ridership. This drives a focus on service optimization and embracing emerging technologies like AI, as we've just heard. And third, community impact. This priority reflects our responsibility to contribute positively to the communities that we serve, not just as a transit provider, but also as a partner in economic development and quality of life. It includes stakeholder-focused initiatives like customer satisfaction, workforce management, transit-oriented development, and partner engagement strategies. And it's about ensuring that PSTA is adding value beyond the trip. To look ahead at our timeline, we're bringing these high-level strategic priorities today as an information item after presenting them to the Executive Committee earlier this month. Following your input today, we'll bring this to the September board as an action item. From there, staff will begin mapping specific projects and metrics aligned with each priority over a 5-year time horizon, ensuring clear accountability and alignment. In October, we'll bring you a draft of that more fully developed plan as an information item. And then in December, at the board meeting, we'll present and hopefully adopt a new strategic plan for the agency. With that, I'd like to hand the discussion back over to the chair. Thank you so much.
Thank you for that presentation. Are there any questions from board members or comments?
Madam Chair. Can I make a comment?
You sure can, Brad.
Thank you very much, Trish, for helping me with this. As board members who have been on the board for a while, you might not always be totally energized by the presentations, and you stare at the back of the room and you look at that poster on the wall. That is actually the priorities that the board adopted 2 strategic plans ago. And then we put the poster up, and then we had COVID. We adopted another strategic plan, but we forgot to take the poster down. So in December, once you adopt this new strategic plan, there'll be a new poster for you to look at the back of the room. That's my goal.
Thank you so much for that. Commissioner McCann.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to say briefly that and thanks for the presentation. I want to say I'm glad that transit-oriented development was on that list. I think that's really important. And I hope that we all remember that the way our environment is built influences our transportation choices. And the truth is, right now, in the vast majority of this county, it's illegal to build transit-oriented development. So I hope that we work on that and keep that in mind, because that's a huge piece of the puzzle. And it doesn't cost anything. Zoning reform it doesn't add to our operating budget or our capital budget. It's just a reform. So I want to see more of our county legalizing transit-oriented housing specifically. Yeah, thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Commissioner Albritton.
Well, I just wanted to say, I think this is a great strategic priority because you boil it down to the most important parts. And I think it's very easy to understand and in the right order, too. So, thank you.
Thank you. And seeing no further requests to speak, once again, I want to thank you, Trish, for the presentation and all you're doing for it. Thank you. No more questions. We're good? Okay, thank you. So next, we're going to move and have Darden Rice, our PSTA's Chief Planning and Community Affairs Officer, who will update us on the service plans slated for this fall, as well as PSTA's longer-term plans. Good morning, Darden.
Good morning. Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. My name is Darden Rice, and I am your Chief Planning and Community Affairs Officer. We'll get the clicker going here. Okay, thank you, Rachel. Nope. Can I use this? It's not doing its thing. Be patient with us. Is there? Yeah. Okay, great. Good morning. So I am here to give an update on our Connected Community bus network. As you recall, we do a comprehensive operations analysis every 5 years as part of our federal and state planning and reporting. And the board approved our Connected Community Bus Plan in March, kicking off a 6-month implementation period as we run up to October 26th, 2025. We are 4 months into it with 2 months to go, and wanted to give you this quick update. The goals of the bus network redesign is to best connect individuals and communities to destinations, given, of course, our restrained resources. We used a number of tools to redesign our network so that it is more clear, consistent, and connected, and we are excited about the changes ahead. So this is our current network that will be in place for 2 more months. And if you notice, this map and the next map, which is our proposed new map, in a lot of ways, they really look very close. They're very close to being the same. That is because the types of changes we are making involve spreading more service over the weekend and designing better timed transfers. So those types of changes haven't impacted our map very much, and even though we are removing about 200 plus stops, still those number of stops are only about 5% of the total bus stops throughout the county. The big picture here, which I think is interesting, is that across the country, transit agencies are adopting major bus network redesigns, and it's responding to significant changes in work patterns and traffic patterns. So before the pandemic, work pattern changes tended to be very gradual, but then COVID really changed all that. And today, about 20% of our workers are remote workers, and 60% of job seekers look for flexibility in work arrangements. Now, you've seen this slide before. Pay special attention to number 6. This is a cost-neutral plan. That means that all of the improvements in numbers 1 through 5 and those related changes require trade-off and balance. If we add something on the weekend, that means we shave off and balance out something that's during the weekday service. That also means that our connecting routes, which might show lower ridership, those routes become connective workhorses that make the whole system work better and make it more accessible. We're very excited about the Spark, Premium Rapid Service. This is the, really, I think, the high point of our system redesign at the end of October. The service starts on October 27th. The South 34 corridor, it's one of the fastest growing areas in the county. A lot of multi-use development already online. We're seeing the old Ceridian being redeveloped as well. We know that St. Pete College All-State Center will be another 33 acres, just really some incredible development opportunities, going to be higher density. Eckerd College is the anchor of this route, but it also serves PTC and Gibbs High School as well. And of course, you see that's our 15-minute service running 7 days a week. Outreach and InReach is the beginning, middle, and continuous process that we engage in. We're working with our internal stakeholders to get them ready and prepared, as well as the public. Our bus operators are really a key part of the success in minimizing the hiccups as we work closely together. No one can speak to the realities of what's happening out on the roads and the routes as our bus operators. So having that two-way conversation, working with them, preparing them, also preparing for them for how they communicate the changes to their riders is very important. And our outreach team continues our work in the community. And lastly, just wanted to touch on how important this redesign is, because our countywide bus network is really the foundation, it's the nerve system for what makes all of our premium connections and our regional connections work. As you see here, we have a number of projects we are working on for the future. This is a direction that we've taken from you, from the board. And we are, next big thing you're going to hear about is our Alt-19 Premium Transit Service. I-275 Premium Transit Service, where we can make use of the express lanes that will be part of the Howard Franklin Bridge when that will be completed at the end of the year. That will be an opportunity for us to reimagine, if not completely transform the 100X and getting people from Pinellas County to Tampa International Airport. We're also looking at Advantage US 19 North. A lot of people are moving to Pasco, but they're working in Pinellas County. So offering those premium transit opportunities to North County is always important. Looking at the East Bay Roosevelt corridor. I know things are kind of going back and forth with the historic gas plant, but that 86 acres of redevelopment at some point in time will also be a prime location for a multimodal center for regional transit. And with waterborne transit, we're thrilled that we've been able to take over and grow the Clearwater Bay ferry service, extending it to Dunedin. And as you all know, PSTA is taking over the Tampa Bay ferry service connecting downtown Tampa and St. Pete. These are popular routes connecting people over the water, and we foresee that this is something that would hopefully grow regionally. And we continue our outreach. So much of the success of our bus system redesign, it's not just the technical work, it's how we communicate these changes to the public. So you, as board members, as you get calls that come to your office, or emails or comments on social media, please send that to me and my team. We are happy to turn around those responses quickly and to help you to answer your constituents' questions. And this is your feedback and engagement is how we get even better. So thank you. And I am happy to take any questions or feedback from the board. Thank you.
Thank you, Darden, for the presentation. Any board members have any comments or questions? Okay, well, seeing no request to speak, I want to thank you before you leave. You know, Spark is like a true highlight for me. And yes, the Skyway Marina District is growing rapidly in my district. And I do remember when the college students at Eckerd started asking, we want a way to connect with the rest of the city. We want a way to connect. So I just want to thank PSTA for continuing that initiative and making that come to fruition. And I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you, Darden, for everything you're doing.
Thank you, Chair. We're excited too, and thank you all for your help and support.
Thank you so much. So next, we will have our bus comparison presentation, where we will have Henry Lekuzik, did I say that correctly? Director of Maintenance, and Debbie Leos will go over a detailed comparison of PSTA's fleet life cost cycles, which was presented to the Finance Committee. Good morning, Henry.
Good morning, and good morning, members of the board. So for those that were on the Finance Committee this past week, you saw a much longer presentation. We'll do a somewhat quicker abridged version. We've probably given this presentation maybe 6 or 8 times over the last decade or so, and really what has changed is mostly the technology of propulsion systems. So this is going to be divided up into 4 or 5 segments. Don't let that scare you. We're going to go very quickly. It's just going to be an overview of the PSTA fleet here, heavy-duty bus fleet. We're going to get into some how-to mechanics. We're going to keep the technology to high level and the techno-speak to an absolute minimum. And then we're going to get into some purchase costs of today's buses. And then Debbie will round it out with operating costs, and then we'll have some closing comments at the end. So right now, the PSTA bus fleet fluctuates between 210 and 215 heavy-duty transit buses. The reason why it fluctuates is because over the course of the years, buses are retired, new buses come in, so there is an operating range. Right now, the PSTA fleet is comprised of diesel buses, hybrid electric buses, and of course, the newest edition of electric buses. If you break that all out, currently the fleet is split 3 ways. Diesel represents 18% of the total fleet, hybrid electric at 44%, and electric at 39%. So as you can see, it's pretty much split within evenly in thirds. No one particular fuel type. When we get into the differences of today's propulsion technology, and keep in mind, all of the next 3 slides are going to be today's technology that currently exists within the PSTA bus fleet. One thing I want to say is that after 25 years of being in transit bus maintenance, things have changed very rapidly. No matter whether it's diesel or whether it's electric propulsion systems, everything is much more than it was advanced so many years ago. Let's start off real quickly with some diesel bus mechanics. So typically, all diesel bus is a mechanically driven vehicle. You have an engine that's pretty large, that's connected to a transmission that makes the wheels go. And then all of the accessories that power a bus, just like in your car, whether it be an alternator, a power steering pump, air compressor, AC compressor, are either belt-driven or gear-driven off the engine. That is why the engine needs to be much larger. The fuel economy is still about 4 miles per gallon. Again, there's a couple reasons for that. Idling, the inconsistent duty cycle. Think about when you're in stop-and-go traffic. You see the RPM meter in your car. Just do this as you stop and go. And then one of the other challenges that has come with diesel engines, all diesel engines, since 2008 is emission laws. And what we call after-treatment systems, just like a catalytic converter on an automobile. On diesel engines, we have sophisticated after-treatment systems. They're very costly, they're very expensive, they require quite a bit of maintenance, and that's all to comply with today's stringent emission diesel laws. We have a couple more revisions that we'll be going through over the next couple years. There was the 2025 edition, and we have one that looks at the final, which is in 2027. So these critical key components are part of today's modern diesel engine. Now, real quickly, we'll get into transition to hybrid. We saw a lot of advancements when we talk about hybrid electric buses. Really, the big difference is we've added a large battery system to support propulsion of this diesel engine. What did that do? that allowed the diesel engine to become smaller. A smaller engine, diesel engine, requires less fuel, so fuel economy is better. All those accessories that I mentioned earlier are now electrified, so there's no more belts, there's no more gear-driven accessories. They're all electric, so they're no longer robbing power off the engine. Other things that we've seen is what we call regenerative braking. What that basically means is that because the engine is connected to an electric motor, all right, that now that electric motor can help slow the bus down, not having to use the actual braking system. It can capture that energy, it's called kinetic energy, store it up in the batteries to be used again. You'll see where that comes into play with electric buses. The other thing that it supports is because the fuel economy is able to be increased was really because it's the same thing you see in your automobiles. It supports stop-start technology. So just like when you come to a very long intersection and the engine in your car will shut down, the same thing will happen with these buses. The engine will shut down. Everything will still be on in the bus, like air conditioning, lights, and accessories. It's just not consuming fuel. And then last but not least, the all-electric bus. Take everything I mentioned about the hybrid electric bus and just get rid of the engine. So everything's now completely electrified. There's no engine, there's no moving parts. Batteries make up the largest part of the bus, and obviously there is no fuel economy because it's not consuming fuel. It does have onboard battery packs, and typically on our buses, they're close to the 700 kilowatt hours range. Think of your fuel tank capacity. Now we're going to transition to upfront costs, and as we go through the slides, you'll see the different bullet points, but really what I want to do is get to the table here. So the prices that you see on your screen today represent today's purchase cost of what we call a turnkey PSTA bus from the factory. Whether it's a 30-foot, a 35, or a 40-foot. Those are the three most common sizes that are available in heavy-duty transit buses today. Our analysis did not look at 45-foot, which are your big motor coaches, or 60-foot articulating buses for this. As you can see, today's cost, most heavy-duty transit buses are at $1 million. The diesel buses obviously represent the ones that are the cheapest upfront cost or the lowest upfront cost. And of course, the electrics represent the highest. However, as you can see, that as you build upon the different forms of propulsion, whether it be diesel, hybrid, and electric, there's generally a range of about $250,000, which goes into mostly the cost of the propulsion technology. Infrastructure cost, diesel and hybrid, we have fueling operations here on the campus already. It is over 20 years old. It does require maintenance, just like any fueling operations requires, but we did not have to install anything new for diesel and hybrid buses. We did have to go ahead and install charging systems and depot chargers for the electric. But one thing I want to point out with the electric buses is we have a total of 81 electric buses, or will very shortly, is not every single bus has its own dedicated charger. The chargers we have are able to be shared, charge multiple buses, so we only have roughly about 60 chargers to support 81 buses. So we're maximizing what the capability of our chargers are for the buses that we have. Incentives, that basically is just grants, rebates, credits, discretionary funding amounts, and of course, as you can see, wrapping up at the bottom, the relative upfront cost. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Debbie to take us through some operating costs.
Thank you, Henry, and that was a great comparison of our different bus types that we have, and those are our capital assets. So what I'm going to do is take a look at the operating cost for each of those types and then the total cost of ownership. So let's take a look at the cost of operating. The Federal Transit Administration useful life of a bus is 12 years. We keep our buses, I would say, at a minimum 15 years, which is what I'm using here to take a look at the total costs. So we have the cost of the maintenance cost that goes into a bus. We have overhaul costs. During the life of the bus, you have to replace parts, usually a midlife overhaul. So we talk about engines and transmissions on the diesels that need to be overhauled, replaced. Matter of fact, it's about 4 times during the life of a bus that we replace those parts on a diesel. You can see here on the overhaul costs, the hybrid is the most expensive. Why? Because we're looking at the same diesel engine, needs to be overhauled at least 4 times, plus we have the batteries. So we're taking a look at that with electric on the lowest cost for the overhaul. But when you take a look at the whole cost of operating the vehicle over 15 years, you can see that the diesel's about 1.3 million. It's like Papa Bear, Mama Bear, and Baby Bear. So it's about twice the cost of operating of an electric bus. So this is representing just one bus. But that's not all that goes into this. We talk about infrastructure as well. So the total cost of ownership over the 15 years. Well, I'm going to drop to the bottom line, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about funding. The total cost of ownership, which is the cost of the bus that Henry talked about. You've got your infrastructure costs. We have our costs of operating and maintenance and our overhaul costs. So when we look at it in a total bottom line, you will see that in this particular case, the hybrid bus is the least expensive. Of course, we haven't factored in fuel tanks replacement yet. So I think this is rather conservative. But what's important on this slide, and the takeaway on this slide, is I've put off to the left-hand side, how are these costs funded? So the big costs, the cost of the bus, federal government. The costs of overhauls are basically almost 100% federally funded. Infrastructure costs, federally funded. What is not federally funded is our operating costs. Those are local taxpayer dollars. So while all taxpayer dollars are extremely important, it's important to me, what can we do to have that fiscal responsibility you heard Trish talk about? And in doing so, we were able to save money with our mixed fleet with the electric buses. It's important to have a mixed fleet, and through the month of July, just to give you an idea, we have saved 257,000 gallons for a total cost savings of around $618,000 in the operating budget so far. I've carried that forward into next year's budget, and we were able to helped us to lower the millage. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Henry.
So one of the things that is critical with any fleet maintenance division, obviously, is the ability to be able to take care of its fleet of vehicles no matter what the technology is. And that's where experience of the PSTA Fleet Maintenance Division really shines. It's obviously great to be fortunate to have so many new vehicles come in over the last several years, a total of 81, the most buses that PSTA has seen since 2006, 2007 era. With new buses come warranty, they're all under warranty, and rest assured, we are, every time there's an issue, filing warranty claims with the manufacturer to be reimbursed for parts, but especially for the labor. And I think that's what the experience translates into continued operational savings is warranties are great, but like all good things, they come to an end. And when the warranties are over, now we're on our own. And one of the reasons why we're able to get buses to beyond their life cycle of 12 years, but to 15 years, and as you probably may have heard me comment in previous presentations, having retired 2005 and 2006 model buses closer to 20 years and well over 1.5 million miles, that's where the experience comes in. The Fleet Maintenance Division is highly skilled. We're certified by the equipment manufacturers, whether it be Gillig or any other component on the bus, to be warranty center authorized. We are able to perform our own warranty because we're certified and credentialed to do that. Being self-sustainable and self-reliable reduces that operational cost over the long haul. It doesn't keep us confined to having to use field service support. We're able to do it ourselves. And then, of course, all of that reduces vehicle downtime. I want to switch real quick and talk about the entire, briefly, full suite of the family of contracted services in the PSTA fleet. We have obviously our Jolly Trolley, Looper, Transdev, all our van pools, all our ride shares. And you know, those comprise of well over 100-plus vehicles that range from smaller version trolleys that run on gas, diesel, or CNG, to the vans and the cutaways, and of course the sedans that do all of the ride sharing. All in total, across the PSTA spectrum, the full fleet is well over 600-plus vehicles that range from every size, type that is possible. Resiliency, the only thing I'm going to mention with this very quickly is whether it be a hurricane or a port disruption or an electrical grid disruption, because of our mixed fleet, we are able to adapt to whether one particular propulsion type, whether it be electricity or diesel fuel, is interrupted. We can switch back and forth very quickly and still keep service running without being confined to any one particular type of fuel source. Last but not least, PSTA the fleet has obviously been optimized through its mixed-use strategy to really be able to adapt to the changing needs, the different duty cycles, the different requirements for each and one of all of our routes. We have a vast expanse of different types of vehicles over the entire PSTA fleet, along with its contracted providers. And what we found out is, just wrapping up the last 3 or 4 bullets here, is modern diesels do have challenge, but they do work. They do have a purpose. I've said over the years, there's the right vehicle for the right application. Hybrid electric buses right now are looking to be the most cost-effective over the long haul. However, the electric buses do save money on fuel and maintenance as well. And then the last bullet is, we are always looking at the different versions of propulsion technology. I can tell you just now, the diesel engine, new advancements from Cummins coming out, fuel agnostic engines, whatever you want to choose, whether it be hydrogen fuel cell. I just read an article last night about an automaker that has a prototype for a vehicle that runs on water. Didn't learn too much about it. It's so new, it's true. But that's just the type of stuff that we keep our eye on, because 10, 20, 30 years from now, it'll be interesting to see what is out there that we're using for propulsion. I believe that's our last slide, and Debbie and I will always be happy to take questions.
Thank you. Any board members have any questions? Commissioner Scheer. Commissioner Scheer.
Thank you, Chair. This has a lot to do with maintenance. Earlier this year, I read several articles about Miami-Dade and their bus fleet being sidelined because they couldn't reserve parts because their manufacturer in California was going in bankruptcy. Earlier this week or late last week, I sent Brad an email about school districts nationwide going back to diesel because Lion Manufacturing Electric in Canada is going bankrupt, and they can't get parts to repair their electric buses, and so they've had to sideline them. And so my question is, how long can you go? How long can we go without replacement parts? Should our manufacturer that's supplying our buses not be able to replace parts? Can we operate it for a year or 6 months? And the other thing do you think it might be prudent to pre-order some of these critical parts so that we can repair our buses and keep them running?
Yes, great questions. So I'll take it one question at a time. So yes, the stories coming out of not just South Florida, but also other agencies that have decided to purchase buses from a company called Proterra. That company did go out of business. We purchase our buses from Gillig, and we'll come back to that in a moment. In terms of parts and how long can we survive should our bus manufacturer experience issues, well, one, I'll answer that by saying we do have plenty of what we call swing assemblies on the shelf, all right? Combined, so the answer to your question, yes, we can go a year if there's a parts disruption. We obviously know with new buses come new supply times, so we plan for that. The other thing, getting back to the experience of the maintenance department, is unlike, say, a school bus, which comes from a manufacturer, and I'm familiar with Lion, is a transit bus is made up of multiple subcomponent suppliers. So Gillig, our manufacturer, been in business for 100 years. The powertrain system is manufactured by Cummins, largest engine manufacturer in the world. So when we break that up into pieces, if Gillig was to go out of business, which I don't believe it will, we would just go to Cummins and get what we need from there. And then same thing with air conditioners. We are meeting with the battery suppliers right now and being trained on how to rebuild their batteries in-house, just like we've done with hybrid electric buses, and that comes from another 100-year-old company called BorgWarner.
So Cummins, typically diesel, but they're now manufacturing.
They're going fuel agnostic, yes. It's their
And,
powertrain system, yes.
Okay, and I guess, Debbie, have you been keeping an eye on Gillett and their financial, are they strong, are they, what's their bond rating, are they doing good? I'm a little worried about the,
I'm not too worried about Gillig, but one of the things we do here at PSTA with all of our procurements, especially large procurements like this, is we take a look at the financial strength of the company before we enter into a contract. When Proterra was one of the bidders on our bus procurements, you know, we took a look at that in addition to how they answered their questions, and that's how they did not end up being one of our finalists.
I figured you were on top of it, I
Yeah.
just want to make sure.
CFO of the year.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Petrilla.
Thank you, Madam Chair. What is our warranty on the electric buses?
Bumper-to-bumper warranty on transit buses is 1 year. When you get starting down to the subcomponent, it can range anywhere from 2 to 3 years.
So for the batteries, for example?
6 years.
6 years? And what is the effective life of the batteries for those
So
buses?
far, what we've seen is that we do one overhaul at 8 to 10 years.
And what does that mean?
That means over the typical lifespan of a transit bus for us here, rated at 15 years, we do one overhaul.
I'm saying what's involved in the overhaul? Is it a refurbishing of the batteries, a
Yes.
replacement of the batteries?
What we're able to do here is take each battery pack, take it down to the cell level, and then refresh the cells, put it back together, put it back on the bus at a substantial reduced cost than buying the whole entire battery pack assembly.
And have we had situations where we had to replace the entire battery pack out of warranty?
Yes, we've been doing midlife overhauls on all of our hybrid electric buses, which share the same components as our electrics, but even our early 2018 electric buses have not had to have a complete overhaul yet.
Okay. And if a full battery replacement were to be necessary, how much does that cost versus an overhaul?
Currently, we've not priced out the new battery assembly prices yet, but I would say in the neighborhood of possibly $80,000 for a single battery pack replacement. We are able to do it for about 15 to 20.
Okay. And are the newer, so earliest buses we have are 2018?
Yes.
What's the efficiency rating between those and the newer ones that we have?
So efficiency rating.
Are we getting more kilowatts per mile?
Right. So the early buses only had 300 kilowatt hours onboard capacity, so the range was generally about 150 to 180. Today, the buses we have today have double that at close to 700 kilowatt hours, so the range is doubled. We're seeing anywhere between nominally 220, and we've seen 250 miles on a state of charge. We've not seen yet any forms of battery degradation, even back from our 2018s.
So on an average day, a diesel bus will do how many miles?
Average here, I'm going to guess, let's say about 250, 270.
Okay, so for each diesel bus, we are a 1-to-1 ratio of electric or hybrid buses?
About 75%.
Okay, so for every for every 2 diesel buses, we need 3 electric buses roughly.
No, basically, being that most of our routes are about 250, 260, we're at mostly 1.5 electrics to 1.
Okay.
In some of our routes, it is a true 1-to-1.
I'm just looking at the numbers, right, and I think if we're going to compare apples to apples, we have to make sure that if we have 1 diesel bus equals 1 electric bus, but if we have 1 diesel bus that equals 1.5, then the cost of the buses completely changes, right? Because now it's no longer a 1-to-1, but rather 1 diesel bus may cost us $1 million, but we need 1.5 diesel buses to service the same route. So now that cost goes from 1.4 to $2.7 million for the same, to almost $2 million for the same route.
Same amount of service, yeah.
So for the same amount of service, yeah. So it's, if it's a 1-to-1, then the numbers look great. If it's not 1-to-1, then the numbers all of a sudden take on a completely different meaning.
So for the majority of the PSTA fixed route service, we are at a 1-to-1. Some of the outliers, Commuter Express, perhaps some of the smaller shuttles. One thing I can say is our overall fleet count is not going to increase. It's still going to hover around the 210 marker that it's been for quite a few years.
Sure. And then again, if we're looking at a half or even close to a third of the maintenance cost over the life of 15 years, that can offset. So even if we need 50% more of a bus, by having half the cost, that brings us either close to parity or below.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
okay. Thank you. Sorry for all the questions. but
Anytime,
I appreciate
anytime,
the
and I'm always
detail.
happy to come back and focus in on one particular subject matter for the presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Henry. Thank you, Deborah, for the presentation. Well, I didn't see you, but you most certainly can. Commissioner Hazelton.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to, of course, it's a great presentation, and I wanted to bring up the fact that just a couple of weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, in Indianapolis, that EPA Administrator Zeldin announced the rescission of the greenhouse gas emissions, which has, because in my recollection, always over the years with PSTA, the diesel buses, when you're doing these cost comparisons, as I've brought up before, were more like 600,000, 650.
Yeah.
Okay? And then when they put the emissions, greenhouse gas emission legislation in the federally in the last few years, that caused, the need for all the additional costs and that now we're looking at diesel buses at this $1 million price range. And so it's going to be rescinded. And also, as we all know, the incentive that at the same time was introduced was to do the electric EV mandate through the last administration. And that's, too, in this announcement, is going to be rescinded, which I think most of us know. This is going to have a big impact on things. And I have an article from December where, Brad, you were talking, I think it was a press release about getting the big grant for the electric buses. And it says that currently PSTA has 12 electric and 92 hybrid electric. In the next 5 years, PSTA will be receiving a total 62 electric buses. Is that still the case?
Yes.
Okay, so my concern for all of our stakeholders is that we're in such a changing dynamic and making long-range commitments and purchases in a changing environment, and then we start talking about things like running on water. So I think we don't know what's over the horizon. Things are changing so quickly. And then, of course, I'm always a proponent of the idea, going along with the community bus plan, Darden, the revamping that we're working about right now, and seeing other agencies across the country going to microtransit on the feeder routes instead of the large buses. So I think, I want to just throw these things out for discussion or thought or consideration maybe, that we shouldn't maybe make a long-term commitment at this point. Maybe we should pull back on 5 years' worth of commitment on last year's fashions. That's woman speak. I don't like to wear last year's clothes. I'm kidding, but you see what my point is. And so I just think we don't know what we don't know. And I don't think it's ever been so changing as it is in right now in our country with regards to legislation and changes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. I see no further requests to speak. With that being said, once again, thank you, Henry and Debbie, for the presentation. Appreciate it. So now we're going to move into our reports and correspondence, as well as our future meeting subjects. Brad, would you like to update us on our reports in our packet?
I would, thank you, Madam Chair. And just a quick point, and thank you, Commissioner Hazelton, for your comments there. I think you're exactly right. And as Henry noted, and as you can tell, Henry is a real star in maintaining our fleet, and he goes to bed at night reading various things about maintenance of buses, way over, so we don't want to be, we don't know what is the future. And so the idea of having a mixed fleet, of always having diesels, always having the technology of the day, but diesels, some hybrids, like he said, we're trying to get to about a third. Not needing to buy any buses for the next couple of years, but constantly replacing the oldest buses in our fleet with the most cost-effective bus we can possibly get that doesn't lock us in to something that might be an albatross for us down the road, for sure. The point that Commissioner Scher brought up about the electric buses, there's many transit authorities that are having meetings right now talking about how a lot of their fleet doesn't work because they made bad decisions on their fleets. And I am very grateful for Henry and his team all the time that we did not make those same decisions. The sales folks for those companies were here in this room a lot and putting a lot of pressure on the PSA board at that time. Very thoughtful by Henry and his group to make the right decision on the type of bus. But it's a message that I want to get out there that because there is a lot of folks that think that all of the electric buses are not working or didn't work. And many of them didn't that picked that one company. But we luckily did not pick that company, and we picked a different company that is working, and it is going very well. And a lot of that is attributed to Henry and his staff. He showed that picture about the team that he has down there that is experienced. He does trainings for the other transit systems across the state all the time on how we do things here. It's really a huge asset the PSA has, is our maintenance team, and it's hats off to them. So in your packet is the ridership reports for the month of June, where ridership was relatively flat. It's just really kind of remarkable. You look at the ridership by route, and it's the routes that are serving the beach, the beach that are down, and ridership that is serving Clearwater and St. Petersburg that ridership is up. So overall, we're relatively flat. We are celebrating as you know, our 40th year of PSTA. And so at the Finance Committee this month, it's in your packet, Devin Deal gave a presentation on the 40-year ridership trend for PSTA over the 40 years of PSTA, which has had its ups and downs, and he did a really good analysis of sometimes it's outside forces that cause the ridership, like gas prices or the economy, and sometimes it's fare increases or institution of new services that changes the ridership. Also related to our 40th anniversary, as we near the end of it, we are producing a sort of a history book that should be here in the next month or so, and you'll all receive a copy of the PSA 40th anniversary. It's like a coffee picture book, kind of. It's really good. Thank you for many of you who attended the Clearwater Station groundbreaking last Friday. It was great to see you there, and the actual groundbreaking of Real Dirt is scheduled for next month. Tomorrow is the due date for the RFP that is out on the street right now for the Tampa Bay Ferry. So we'll see how those bids come in. And then in a week from now, on September 4th, I'll be up in Dunedin Commission meeting for their approval of the interlocal agreement to extend the Clearwater Ferry to Dunedin. The Dunedin marina was significantly damaged by the hurricanes, and so that's why there's been a delay in starting up that route, part of the Clearwater Ferry. But we're excited about that. Next week is the Florida Public Transit Association Conference, the annual conference, and it's in our county. It's at Tradewinds. Thank you to the chair for coming and welcoming I think about 300 or 400 people that will be there from across the state. Let's see. Congratulations to David Hensler, our Assistant Director of Procurement, who is a member of this year's Leadership Pinellas class. That's exciting. And then finally, two people that are not here, but as you heard Ross Silver say, congratulations to our Director of Mobility, Bonnie Epstein, for having a baby, Clark, a little baby boy. And also Amanda Baird, our Marketing Director, who's not here today, but congratulations to her. She was named part of the Mass Transit 40 Under 40 group, and we'll celebrate her for that. My final comment. Rachel sent all of you my performance evaluation, and there is just we've gotten a whopping 2 of you to fill it out so far. One person is not here, so the winner of the day is Commissioner Chris Latvala, who is the only person here that has turned it in. All of you have not turned it in. He has done it. So he gets a prize. Great job. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Commissioner Latvala, for being very expedient on that. So you get the prize. Thank you for that. And again, congratulations to Mr. Hensler for your acknowledgement today. Thank you so much. So is there any other business to discuss? Commissioner Hazelton.
At the finance meeting with TransDev was there, he was going to get back with us about we know that the fare on the grouper is $8, but he was going to get back about what the cost of the ride is. He had done those comparisons.
Yeah, we have got that information from him, and my thought was there was a lot of questions about the grouper service and the status of it that we would actually make up a whole summary report of that at your next finance committee. But we can share that with the whole board as well. We have those numbers.
You have the numbers?
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, there was a lot of good discussion at the committee. We had both 2 of our biggest contractors, TransDev and Jolly Trolley, come and make presentations, and a lot of good discussion about the grouper and other services related to our privatized system. I think we might in the future have some of our other contractors come to the committee to talk about things. Yeah.
Thank you. You done? You good? Okay, thank you. Commissioner Petrilla.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, we actually asked them 3 questions to come back with us with additional information and numbers, so if we could get those in a report, that would be appreciated. As we spoke with TransDev, that's our paratransit contractor, and then Brad and Debbie were at our office this past week, and we had a great discussion. And so one thing I wanted to bring to the board for consideration to see if we could ask the staff to look into this is, when we look at our paratransit, our average is roughly $55 per trip one way, and most trips require
2 ways.
2 ways.
Yeah.
And so it ends up being about $110 per trip. And from some of the data that we have, it seems that many of those trips are for groceries. So going to and from Publix or Walmart or Target or wherever it is you're going. So one of the things that we looked at is, so Uber being our partner does have a groceries option, right? And then Walmart does the same thing. And so to see if there's an opportunity there to, one, provide better service, but also at a significant discount to PSTA. Because if you use the Uber grocery feature, most of the time they don't charge anything at all, or there's a small service fee, might be $2 or $3, might be $5 versus $110 for the same individual. And in the last 2 or 3 weeks I've been testing it, it arrives within 1 to 2 hours. So it's very, very quick. Versus for somebody having to schedule their ride the day before, to and from Publix, then have to get in, spend probably 2, maybe 3 hours getting to Publix and back. All of that could be accomplished for 5% of the cost and 0 time to the individual. So we can save time and money on, so if the board would like, I mean, I'd like for the staff to at least look into the opportunity, see if there is an option to partner either with Uber, with Lyft, or with Walmart, for example.
Yeah, thank you. We had a good discussion, and I've contacted our folks at Uber about the possibility, and then and we're going to check out Walmart as well. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. Board members, do you have any other comments before we adjourn today? Seeing no further comments, our next meeting is our first budget/millage public hearing on September 10th at 6 p.m. And the second public hearing/regular board meeting is September 24th, 2025. And note, both of these meetings are at 6 p.m. And with no further comments, questions, we are adjourned.